We believe that Christians are prohibited from bringing civil lawsuits against other Christians or the church to resolve personal disputes. We believe the church possesses all the resources necessary to resolve personal disputes between believers. We do believe, however, that a Christian may seek compensation for injuries or damages from another Christian's insurance company, as long as the claim is pursued without malice, slander, greed, or without intent to sue. Interesting subject to study, interesting subject to teach. I even tried to get some resources this week. CLA, the Christian Law Association, reached out to them and said, hey, what do you have out there teaching on the subject of lawsuits in the church? And they just handed me this passage back. Well, you need to read 1 Corinthians chapter number 6. I'm like, well, that don't help. I think I just saw Tom pull in. I wasn't planning on him, but he just pulled in. And so I did some more digging and came up with some of this. Concerning matters. It's interesting in the wording. It says, dare any of you take a matter against each other. Sounds like to me, when it's talking about matters, this is the not big deal stuff. Pastor Hudson used to preach. He knew of a church split down the middle over the debate on whether or not a church should have white gravy or brown gravy at the church dinner. And yes, Jason, imagine me getting mad, half the church mad at me because of the type of gravy I want to put on my potatoes at the church dinner. Exactly. That's my answer. You make white, you make brown, and you get what you want. Just make both. That'd be great. But matters happen that quite a bit. And church carpet colors and church hymnal colors and even me every once in a while, I've said publicly, every once in a while I've made jokes with even some of you in the room and said things maybe I shouldn't have. There he is. Good to see you. And this kind of matter, instead of taking it to me and saying, hey, Pastor, I don't really like how you handled that, don't really like how you said that to me, all of a sudden I get a subpoena in the mail. This is what this passage is talking about. Lawsuits between believers. 1 Corinthians chapter number 6. I'm mowing your lawn, or I borrow your lawnmower, and I hit a rock and shoot it into your window, and all of a sudden I'm subpoenaed for $10,000 plus personal pain and suffering to place your storm window in your door. Things like this happen. We're going to get into this in a second, and a little farther, some crazy lawsuits I did really find out there in preparation to this.
I'm on my own lawn and put my back window out of my truck one time.
Yeah.
Look at the back window and it was diamonds.
Yes. I was working up the church, finishing up my master's degree, and went to use the restroom, and went between the building and looked over, and the doors just shattered, and our church lawnmowers were just there. I'm like, oh, Pastor, don't want to make this call. Then we went out to the church van, and the same mower blew out the window in the church van, and it was like a bad day for whoever was mowing the lawn. But not something to sue over. However, as we get into this, there are times when the church should pursue things legally. Many a church, though, has been in a problem because they try to manage legal issues in-house instead of getting the police involved. Major theft. You find out I was selling the church stereo equipment out the back of my truck. You should take me to court. You should take me to the police and pursue legal action. Oh, yeah. Or just take me into the back 40 of the church.
We got 20 acres.
Yeah, 20 acres, and I never saw them. We don't have records of them ever being here. One or the other should be done. But I've heard though, I mean, unfortunately in our days, the one religion of the church was popular for a while, and my young kids are in the room. Anything having to do with the mistreatment of young children, young people in the church, legal action needs to be taken. Don't hide that stuff within the church. The church is going to be in more trouble than it's worth. Take that person first out to the back 40, take care of business, and then take it to the church. There's a difference there.
Some things you get taken back for, there's some things that come from the yard or upright out front.
Exactly.
That
That would be one of those. Church is not the judge. We're the ones judging. Here in this scripture, I really seen the root cause, I believe, and why Paul was writing this. What would our church testimony be? I did call our Mayor Oaks this week and about the stuff on the property. But what if I started calling Major Oaks and say, hey, Mayor, I'm the new pastor in town. I've been here for 4 or 5 months now. John in our church has just been a thorn in my side. Mayor, I need you to be involved in church matters, in church business. That seems to be what's going on here in 1 Corinthians chapter number 6. That would not be a good thing, good testimony for the church. We shouldn't be doing that. The type of judging we do. Turn over to consider the 1 Timothy chapter number 2 passage. Thinking about how we judge, the type of judging in the church, kind of the things that's going on in the world. This passage came to mind. 1 Timothy 2:1. I charge thee therefore before God and the Lord Jesus Christ, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing in his kingdom. Preach the word. Be in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. The time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. So in 2 Timothy. First Timothy 2. 1 Timothy 2 is what I got written down. You guys,
where are you?
let me look at my own scripture. This is the problem with me writing it down. Let's look at the Bible,
I
John.
was in First Timothy.
Okay. I wrote down the wrong section.
I remember the in season, out of season, but I don't remember the chapter.
That's fine.
Chapter 4.
2 Timothy 4. 2 Timothy 4 or 1 Timothy 4?
Second Timothy 4.
Okay.
There we go.
Yep, 4:2. Okay, I don't know how I did that. I do apologize. Like I said, I had it copied and pasted, and I must have started the wrong reference. Verse 3, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. When a Christian is properly preaching or proclaiming the word, a sense of judgment within the church is being happening. Sunday school, you're led to teach a certain passage. Even as the pastor, every once in a while, I've said I will take care of things if I have to from the pulpit. Throughout scriptures, Paul says it's reported commonly among you that there's fornication. This is a thing that's church-wide. This type of judging begins within the church, taking care of business. We're also considering the Matthew application in a minute, but we're not doing that. We are doing it at times out of a sense of urgency, taking matters to each other. Hey, this is urgent. I need to talk to you about this. Hey, I've noticed this. Let's take care of it. People do need to know at times that their sin is separating them from a right relationship with God. Paul, this all balances here. We also see here type of judging a Christian will be doing at times. Interesting backstory, you weren't in here for this. This was a difficult passage for me to study and figure out for you guys today. I contacted CLA and said, hey, what kind of lessons, what kind of stuff do you have about judging and the church being involved in the court system and everything? And CLA said, have you ever read 1 Corinthians chapter number 6? That was it. That was the whole email. So I'm like, contact me if you have any questions. I'm like, well, I just figured as CLA, some sort of lesson thing. But judging here as well, putting that down. Consider Revelation chapter number 3. Let me turn there as well. There'll be a day in the passage here that says, why are we judging each other? Why are we judging over brown gravy or white gravy? Why are we judging over and disputing in the courts over with the court having the courts decide what color carpet, things like that? It goes on in 1 Corinthians 6 to say, don't you know we're going to judge angels, is where I'm going with this. Revelation chapter number 3, verse number 21. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father and his throne. Turn over to Daniel chapter number 7. Daniel 7. Probably did it again. Okay. Verse 15, I will begin to get the whole context. It says, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. And I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked the truth of all this. So he told me and made me to know the interpretation of the things. This is a future prophecy, these great beasts, which are 4 and 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and shall possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the 4 beasts, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were iron, nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the others which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than its fellows. I behold, and the same horn made a war with the saints and prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came. And judgment was given to the saints, that's us, of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. If you're understanding 1 Corinthians 6, I'm pulling this all confusion together on purpose. There is going to be a day you and I in some form, and I still can't say I fully have grasped it myself. We're going to at least be witnesses to. We're going to sit on the right hand of God when the angels, the fallen angels of this of heaven that are tormenting us on this earth right now, we call them devils, are going to be judged and sent into hell. And Paul's whole point in 1 Corinthians chapter number 6 is if we're going to worry about such a big thing about that, why are we disputing with each other over the color of the carpet in the church? That's really what it comes down to. Why are we disputing over and taking each other to court and seeking gains over trivial matters within the church. The context would lead us to understand it's not very important. But if a matter does need to be judged, let's turn to Matthew chapter number 18. Within the church now. Keeping it within the church, and here's how you do it. Jaybird. Let's say I notice as just a member of the church that you have been consistently lying about your homework. You've been cheating. You get your homework, you find the back of the book, and that used to be a major homeschool thing. Homeschool books used to be notorious for the parents of having all the answers to the test in the back of a book, so the parents can grade them. I grew up with enough homeschoolers in my home church in Salina to find out that was an easy way to cheat if you didn't get caught. How did you all of a sudden get a good answer, good grades? Well, found out they cheated. So Jaybird, I find that out. I'm a member of the church. I want to help you. Where should I start? Here's the question. This is how Paul's teacher, the scriptures teaching us to keep the court system out of the church. What do? Matthew chapter number 18, verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, gain thy brother. That's always a good way to start. And some of you have already done it. I've known if you've done it with me. Hey, pastor, can I pull you aside? Can I talk to you about something? Yeah, of course. Hey, didn't really like this. Okay, let's talk about it. Figure out why I came to a conclusion. Nobody else needs to know. Doesn't need to be said. Details don't matter. And I'm sure when Paul was writing 1 Corinthians 6, this is what he wished they were doing. You don't need to go to the judge. You don't need to go to the county mayor. You don't need to go to the chief of police to figure out the color of the carpet or to get your neighbor to stop mowing your patch of lawn. I had a neighbor in Kalamazoo that it would bother him. I figured as the neighbor, the Goddard saw me mowing the other day, and Mr. Goddard wanted to mow the church lawn for me, and I'm young enough, I did it myself. But if I ever caught Mr. Goddard mowing the lawn, I might just grab him a glass of lemonade and a cookie and say, hey, thank you for mowing the lawn. No big deal. My neighbor in Kalamazoo grabbed 2x4s, laid them on the property line, and said, you do not mow my grass. I'm like, okay. I mowed 2 stripes for you, man. I figured you'd be thankful. No, he got 2x4s out. And so this kind of stuff happens. As much as I'm trying to make sense of this subject for us, this is a real deal. But it says if you go on 1-on-1, hey, I'll listen to you. You've gained a brother. Nobody needs to know we've ever had this conversation. Your sin or my sin is between you and me. But we all know sometimes that doesn't happen. Verse 16. But if you will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more people, that in the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. Go in private. Take trusted witnesses. Now, this is after time goes by. I've seen people try to push through this on a weekend. Well, Friday night I asked Jim to stop mowing my lawn, and he did it. He didn't stop. So pastor said 2 or 3 witnesses. It's been 3 hours and he's still out mowing. I need to go out and get 2 or 3 more witnesses. No, give it maybe a couple weeks. Sometimes people take a while to change. But if this is clearly obvious here that this person, it's been a few days, been a few weeks, repentance has not happened. But I was thinking about this. 2 or 3 witnesses, every certain word may establish. It's also for my protection and your protection. That way we're in this conversation together. I can't go back and say, well, John said this. Well, Jason said this. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Nobody gets anywhere. But we understand that. What also could be happening, and my wife is notorious for this to my frustration at times. We'll be sitting on the couch watching something and I'm really angry about something. I'm right this time. My wife's not going to get one on me. I've thought about all the details. I'm right this time. And she said, honey, what if you think about it this way? Should have thought of that way. Should have thought about that. And it happens at church deacons meetings. It happens at staff meetings. It happens in Sunday school and business meetings. Somebody says, hey, pastor, you're adamant. But have you thought about this? And pastor's on the phone going, ugh. Love talking to this guy, but he's so frustrating. He's got a different view to me, and I can't argue with his view. He might be right. So this 2 or 3 witnesses gives us this whole parameter sometimes of a different view and says, hey, Pat, you trying to do the counseling? I've heard this every once in a while. You're kind of wrong too. You're trying to get your buddy to stop this, but you're really doing this in this situation too, and you're not helping things. That's why your buddy's not responding to you, because it's kind of your fault too. You don't want to hear that. But this mutual 2 or 3 other people that are neither on his side or on your side, they're just kind of there to be a witness. They point that out. It says, but, and I've seen this happen once or twice, and it ain't pretty. Verse 17. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it to the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. This is for that church member. And I've said before, I used to have a member of one of the churches I used to preach at for the being a little vague to protect the guilty. Individual sung beautifully. Whenever this individual sang, we love to hear it. We find out that this individual was also singing at the local bar on Saturday nights. Being part of the bar scene, singing at the bar, everybody enjoyed the singing at the bar, and this individual said, hey, I'm going to have the best of both worlds. I'm going to sing at the bar on Saturday night, sing for the Lord on Sunday morning. I'm going to have my cake and eat it too. It's a good time. Situations like that in general, where it's obvious, it's hurting the church. Once you go through the one-on-one and the 2 or 3, needs to be taken to the church. And this is the subject that hurts everybody. Nobody comes out of this feeling like they really enjoyed the church service. This is the matter of church discipline. This is within the church. This is within the confines of the church. This is when you vote that person, maybe not in good standing, at least in membership. Maybe they can't vote for a while. They're not allowed to be involved in their ministry as their work. If their sin is to the degree of which you need to make it aware to that person how serious it is. And it's never a glorious thing. It's never, hey, I can't wait to give it to John. A lot of times it's with sadness. It's with fear. It's with trembling. Hey, I really wish John would have taken care of this a long time ago, but he's just not. And it's for the purpose of restoration. The Bible is very clear. Ye which are spiritual, restore such a one. And this is all that beginning part of what we read in 1 Corinthians chapter number 6. We don't take it to the mayor or the chief of police, whoever in town. We don't do that. We keep it in house. This is the nuts and the bolts. But our Constitution says there can be times, however, where because of something that happened, I should be at least allowed to take it to the insurance company. Tell you a true story. Second year of Bible college, I was driving my mom's favorite car at the time. I just needed to go downtown to pick up some groceries or something. I was in town from college. Hey mom, can I borrow your Lincoln Town car? Well, heard it's fun to drive, nice car, and I'm getting ready to turn it into a place of business where I feel and hear a very large bump on my back end. Somebody just ended me. My mom sees it, comes out. She's now upset with me because I promised her not to wreck the car. She's also upset with the driver because that was her favorite car and her favorite son's in the driver's seat. I'm her only son, so I can say that. I am literally my mom's favorite son. And then I get the settlement from the insurance company. This was 2001, 2002. And the pain and suffering check that I got from that insurance company was like stupid big. The car was barely hurt. I think I took 4 Tylenol to help the back pain. They cut me a check for $3,000. Ooh, I can pay for my first semester of college when I go back. But in some way, we're in a society in our church constitution, and it should be in our mind, don't do that. And so in many ways, that's in general society, much of that is done with malice, with anger. They ruined my favorite bicycle. I am going to get them for $5,000. Didn't you just pay $50 for that bicycle at Walmart a while ago? But it was my favorite. It was my birthday bicycle. It's pain and suffering. No. You're trying to get that which doesn't come to you, which doesn't belong to you rightfully. You're suing. Ephesians chapter number 4. Consider these verses. This is from our Constitution concerning the matter, I believe, of suing and that kind of attitude. Ephesians 4:31. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor, evil speaking, be put away from you with all malice. Be kind one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Legal resource can be sought to return the value of what is lost. If I am in a car accident, I've written down, with a Christian, or especially a church member, it would be okay within the rights for me to charge their insurance company for the damages in my car, Brother Bontempo. I'm pulling out with my Toyota, not paying attention, adjusting the radio, and I slam into the side of your your truck. After you wring my neck because it's your favorite truck, you'd be within your rights to say, co-pastor, you did the damage. What's your insurance information? That's within rights. But what tends to happen, maybe not, hopefully not out of this church, you just bought me a brand new 2021 truck. Thank you. I don't just want this one fixed. I want the best of the best. Going into it with an attitude of forgiveness, it says. Even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. Dare any of you want to start writing down in a notebook everything you've done in your life that God's forgiven you for? How long would you be writing? A big list. Keep adding to it while you're out writing the list, absolutely. God says, I forgave you. And seriously, you're going to court and you have a bad testimony in the town over
The color of the carpet?
Seriously? Suing the person. Here's some thoughts I've written down. True, best I can tell, true stories. I Googled crazy lawsuits. I've got 2 of them. A third one, it came up, but it was false on Snopes, so I didn't put it down. A young man of 19 years old, located in Los Angeles, California, was awarded $74,000 plus medical expenses when his neighbor accidentally ran over his hand with his car. Okay, it had me interested on this part. The young man was unaware that there was somebody behind the wheel of the car while he was trying to steal the hubcaps off the neighbor's car. Stealing from the neighbor's in the car ready to go to work, backs over his hand, and the neighbor pays $74,000 in damages. I know the Bibles are authority. I get that. I'm not thwarting that. But I'm just giving us a practical example of what the world wants us to do. This one's even crazier. A woman in Austin, Texas was awarded, Jay, listen to this one. Lady in Austin, Texas, awarded $80,000 after she broke her ankle tripping over a toddler who was running inside a furniture store she was shopping in. The store owner was very surprised by the verdict because the toddler running in the store was the woman's son. I trip over my kid and your store, and you're paying me $80,000 because you didn't tell me my kid could trip me. This one, the one on Snopes, I remember hearing back in psychology class. Didn't it really happen? But it's a funny story, Jason. Big old RV, the camper that you sleep in with grandma and grandpa. The story goes that the lady sued and got $1 million plus a new RV because she was going down the highway, put it in cruise control, and went back to make herself a sandwich. Upon wrecking, she sued the maker of the insurance company because it didn't say it wasn't autopilot, more or less. In general, concerning the subject of lawsuits and judging and suing with each other, bringing it down to brass tacks, if it's trivial, if it's something that we could and should keep in the house, let's keep it in the house. Color carpet, disputes, even the church. Even if there is a day, and I pray there never is, that things are bad within the church. We're fighting about something. You don't like the pastor anymore. You don't like the head janitor. You don't think the head janitor should have been voted in for that position. Wolverine, Sheboygan County, needs to believe everything is okay within the church. Keep it in house. Don't let people know. But say it again, because I've heard of it. I've seen too many stories. As much as I was a bit lighthearted about it earlier in the lesson, there are times though where you need to take legal action. Thinking about even our bus ministries and stuff. I need to understand there are certain things. If one of the people in the church say, hey, this is happening at home, I now have information that I'm required as a pastor or a counselor in the community to report to the police. I've been shocked at times, pastors I've been under honestly saying, well, we don't know that for sure and we don't want to get anything started. Don't say anything. Made me very uncomfortable. Certain information needs to be out there. But if I back into your car, just let me pay for the car, please. Don't sue me for $80,000. That's not right. Pain and suffering. But it is. It's amazing. So in a sense, in about a half hour's time, that's what our Constitution says about that. So, amen. My wife is going to now shut off the live video so we can go and freely share prayer requests and praises with each other that are not going to be live for everybody. I just want to keep that in house, to keep on that subject.